Hey Brew Crew, welcome to the final installment of my A to Z series, where I tell you all of my favorite games for each letter of the alphabet. This has been a fun exercise to go through, and some letters have definitely been way harder than others, but today we're going to go through letters U through Z. So, let's get started. My letter U game is one of my under the radar games that never seemed to get much love, and that's Ulm. This game came and went pretty silently, it seemed like. I suppose maybe because it's yet another game involving a cathedral in Europe, but this game has a really fun mechanism. The whole thing revolves around a slide puzzle mechanism where you'll take an action tile and slide it into a 3x3 square grid. You'll push one of the action tiles out, and the remaining three actions in that row or column will be the ones that you'll take. This game has a fairly tight economy, with the two main resources being money and sparrow tokens, which will allow you to swap a token for one that will be more beneficial to you. There's quite a bit more going on in this game, although it's by no means a heavy game. If you haven't looked into it yet, I recommend giving it a try. That's Ulm. My letter V game actually came down to two games about making wine. Vinhos was a strong contender, and I would say is probably my favorite Vital Lacerda game, but Viticulture is just easier to get to the table, and so it just edged out Vinhos. Viticulture is a pretty straightforward worker placement game, but there are a few things that make this one special. First is the idea of the rounds being split up into seasons. Workers that you placed in the summer will not be available to place when winter rolls around, so you have to plan very carefully. Then there's the Grande worker, which is a worker that you can send to any worker placement spot, regardless of whether it's occupied or not. This means that you can be sure not to get blocked out of one space each year, but you only have one, so you have to use them very wisely. Finally, there's the visitor cards. Throughout the game, you're going to gain summer and winter visitor cards, which you can play for very helpful benefits. This is one of the first of the more thematic Euro games that I'd played, and I still really love it. Viticulture. W was another tough letter for me because over the last year I played two new great games that start with a W, and those are Wayfarers of the South Tigris and Wonderland's War. Over time, one of these may take over as my favorite W game, but they'd have a hard time unseating War of the Ring. Apart from maybe Twilight Imperium, this is the most epic, most thematic game that I've played so far. I'm a huge fan of the world that Tolkien created, and this game really immerses you in that world. You feel like a general commanding your armies during the War of the Ring. It's a pretty complex game with a lot of rules, and so it doesn't make it to the table as much as I wish it did. When it does, though, it's definitely a game that we treat as an event. We turn on the LED lights, we put on the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, and we really get into the theme. It's fantastic, and I can't wait to play it again. That's War of the Ring. Okay, so I'll be honest with you. I had to cheat a little bit for X. I actually have not yet played a game that actually starts with the letter X, although I do currently have Zaya on my shelf of opportunity. So the closest that I could get was Ex Libris. But this is a game that I for sure really enjoy. In it, you are curating a library, a magical library, and you'll be sending out workers to collect cards which represent different bookshelves. Then you'll place these bookshelves in front of you, but you need to make sure that your shelves are stable, meaning that you can't have empty spaces underneath, and you need to make sure that they're in alphabetical order. What I enjoy most about this game, though, are the different objectives. At the beginning of the game, you're going to be assigned a specific type of book, and that will be your specialty, and you'll score bonus points at the end of the game for each of that type of book you have. There will also be points for gathering a wide variety of books, but there is one type of book that will be considered banned, and will usually cost you points at the end of the game. It's a great game with a whimsical theme, and I actually really enjoy playing this one solo as well. So that's Ex Libris. My letter Y game was an easy pick for me, and that's Yokohama. I really love this game, and it ranks pretty high in my top games of all time as well. Yokohama is kind of like a worker placement game with a twist. It shares a similar mechanism to Istanbul, where in order to send your president to a tile to take its action, you must first have created a route of assistance to help you get there. I love this type of restriction, and it creates the kind of tension in a game that I really enjoy. Each of the different tiles you can travel to will allow you to take actions such as gaining resources, exchanging those resources, gaining money, or taking contracts which can be fulfilled for points at the end of the game. All of these tiles mean that this game can be a bit of a table hog, but it's totally worth checking out though if you haven't. Yokohama. All right, we finally made it to the letter Z. Before we finish up, I want to say a quick thanks to everyone who stuck it out through this whole series, and a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed over the course of it. It really does help the channel get noticed, and I really appreciate it. Okay, my letter Z is a bit of a nostalgic pick for me, and that's Zombie Dice. There's not a ton of games like this that I enjoy, but what makes this one stand out is that it was one of the first games that I could play with my kids on a regular basis. As they've gotten older, we've moved on to other games, but we still own Zombie Dice. This is a Yahtzee-style dice game where you are zombies, and you're going to be drawing dice out of a bag and rolling them, trying to collect as many brains as you can and avoiding getting hit. If you get hit 3 times, you bust, losing all of the brains that you collected that round. You can choose to stop at any time, or you can continue and press your luck. The fact that it's a dice rolling game meant that more often than not, my kids would beat me at it. It's a very simple game with a lot of luck and not much else, but the fun that me and my kids had while we were playing it keeps it in our collection. That's Zombie Dice. Well, we made it all the way through the alphabet. Thanks again to everyone who watched this series. Make sure to let me know in the comments what your favorite games are with these letters. And until the next time, let's get another round for the table. Hey everybody, don't forget to like and comment on this video. If you found value in this video at all, it would mean a lot to us if you consider subscribing to the channel as well. Don't forget to click the notification button so you'll know when we put out a new video. Cheers!